You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 208. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. We have talked before a lot about the importance of being a podcast guest, the importance of being a good storyteller, and how to be a great guest. But one of my tips that I've been sharing, and if you haven't checked it out yet, you can go to Threads, TikTok, or my Instagram Reels, because I'm sharing 50 tips leading up to the 50 days before How to Get on Podcast launches. It launches January 17th. The date got changed, so there will actually be 56 tips, but we're counting down to 50. And I had an author friend say to me the other day that there was a tip that struck her because it was something that she has not had her publicist say to her. It's something that's not being put into practice. And I know and agree with her on this because of the pitches I receive. And it really goes around the topic that's being pitched. So often I get pitches about a product, a service, a book. It's all about what is coming out. What is the guest offering? It's not actually about the guests themselves. And so I wanted to talk today about the importance of pitching you as a person. What is it that makes you special, you unique? What's your story? And why aren't we pitching that? Because that is what listeners want to hear. That is what podcast hosts want to talk about. That's what's going to land you the interview. So let's start with authors, because that's where this conversation started from the beginning. This author's publicist is pitching her to be on podcasts, to be in media, and is really simply pitching her book because the book is about to launch and they're not seeing that much traction. And we discussed my pitching of my author clients and what that looks like. And in essence, we don't pitch the book. We include the book in all of our pitches, but we're pitching the person, the author. And I like using authors for this example because they have a physical product that they are trying to push, per se. They want to get pre-orders, to get book sales. They want people to know who they are and get excited about their book and read it and share it. So it seems like you would pitch the book, right? But that's wrong because the book is not going to talk, and nor are you going to go on an episode, an interview, to talk about what's inside the book entirely, because then you give spoilers away. Who's going to want to read a book when they know exactly what's happened in the book? I can't tell you how frustrated I get when I'm watching TV and we'll hit the info and then you can read exactly what happens in the movie. It's like, well, then what's the point? We know what's going to happen in the end. We don't want to give spoilers away. So when you're pitching to a podcast, it's important to pitch the person. Who is it that wrote this book? What's their story? What's your career been like up to this point? Have you written a bunch of novels, or is this your debut? Did you just wake up and say, I know an agent and get signed with them and then find a publisher overnight? Absolutely not. That's not how the stories go. There's time involved. There's strategy. There's research. There's so many things that go into it. So we want to hear the story of how that happened to you. What is it that makes you special and different? And I know I've said this time and time again, it may feel as it's human nature that I'm not unique. I don't have something to share that somebody else is going to want to hear, or it's not going to resonate with someone else, but it does. Because human nature is actually wanting to hear the stories of other people. We want to know that someone else has been through what we're going through. We want to know that our goals and hopes and dreams and wishes aren't unrealistic. I want to hear from people that have been through the trenches, that have woken up and said, you know what, forget this life that I'm living. I want to do something else for myself. I want to write that book. I want to launch that business. I want to make a difference. I want to share my story. I want to hear those stories. I also want to hear the stories of people who have been through something that I can't even fathom or comprehend. I love hearing from people with different backgrounds. I love learning about what people have gone through that I have not gone through. And not only do I want to hear the stories, I want to understand how they felt. I want to build empathy in myself and in the listeners as to understanding why someone does what they do. Why do we react a certain way? Is it because of what we've been through? Is there something that triggers us to act the way we do, to respond the way we do? What happens when we all discover what the story is and the reasoning behind the actions that we take? We understand each other. We're less quick to anger or to judge. And these are the stories that need to be pitched. Not necessarily your book, your service, your product, but you, the unique individual that you are. You have a story that everyone needs to hear. I promise you that. As boring as you might think it sounds, you have something to share. It may sound boring to you, and let me tell you that once you repeat your story over and over and over again, you'll really bore yourself. But the people who are listening, it's the first time they've ever heard it. And they may have never heard from anyone like you before. And that's why it's so important to not only share your story, but to pitch you as the person, as the unique human being that you are. I think ultimately there's so many pitches out there that are around the book, the product, the service, because that's the easy way out. It's much easier to say there's this book coming out and let's pitch this and it was a great read and we think you'll enjoy it versus taking the time to truly get to know the person. And I think some publicists aren't recognizing that they need to truly get to know the person they're pitching in order to pitch them. I go into every client meeting letting the client know that I'm going to become their number one fan. If I don't believe in you, then I can't pitch you. If I do not enjoy your book, I can't pitch that this book is fabulous and the author behind it has done these incredible things and has such a story and here's why I loved it. I'm not a good liar because I don't like to lie. It's part of that whole, quote unquote authentic part. I tell you what I enjoy. I'm not going to poo-poo the stuff that I don't enjoy. I just won't mention it. If you follow me long enough, you will notice that. I simply won't mention something if I didn't like it. But when I like something, I will shout it from the rooftops, which is why my clients, I will promote them day and night, and I will do the same in all of the pitches I send. It comes through that I am a fan of my clients. And it's kind of funny because there was a response not too long ago to a pitch in which the host said, wow, this is really kind of a raw pitch. Well, yeah, because we really like our clients. That's really just how it goes. We believe in them and we enjoy working with them. And that's why the pitch comes across as so positive because we truly feel that way. And so that's why it's so important to pitch the person, to pitch yourself. If you are doing this on your own, pitch yourself, your story. What is it that you've done all of these years to get you to where you are today? These are the stories that everyone wants to hear. And I know that it's very tough to come up with topic titles for all of these. And of course, I have to plug the book, How to Get on Podcasts, because in it, I'm taking you step by step on how to figure out what these stories are that you should share. There's a whole section on questions and what you should be thinking about and how to frame them and what questions you should ask yourself. Get into that mindset of what have I been through? What is it that makes me different? What is it that I do in my everyday life that other people don't do? And all of these things I had to really sit down and think about because I naturally ask these questions of others. But I don't also ask them of myself. It's a whole thing that I've had to go through in order to not only pitch myself, but to also write the book to teach you how to pitch yourself and why it's so important that you pitch you and not the product, the service, the business, the book. So I will push the pre-orders because that is my job. How to get on podcasts. The new pub date is January 17th. It's available at all bookstores online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, bookshop.org, Walmart even, all the places. I will be doing some book signings. I'll be in New York in January. If you have a favorite bookstore you'd like to meet up at, please let me know. And if you just have questions around what you're pitching yourself on, what does your pitch look like? What's your media kit look like? Let me know. I am more than happy to chat with you, to talk about it, to look it over, give you feedback, because we need to support each other in all of this. I am here for you. I want to be your number one fan too. But don't forget to pitch yourself, not what you sell, but you.